Chapter 22 Against All Odds. Erik stops eating. It happens at the end of June, 5 weeks after he was placed in the hole. Mike tells me Erik's depressed. Erik yearns for the peace he somehow discovered last year in the hole. In his letters, he tells me that he'll eat when he's allowed to see me again. In other words, he's going on a hunger strike. The guards tell him that if he's not eating, they're going to stop issuing him food. The matter is documented, and Erik is no longer given food. He shares the experience with me every day in his letters. Each day, I rush to the mailbox, hoping for a letter. The thought of Erik in the hole, not eating, and with no way for me to talk to him, is a new kind of torment. I repeatedly ask the prison if he's being monitored medically, but of course he's not. 1 week becomes 2. Erik's not doing well. He's rapidly losing weight. The problem is, he wasn't overweight to begin with. I'm worried about his Crohn's disease, and how starvation will affect his immune system. He writes that not until the 6th week does he really need to worry about organ failure or blindness. I do research on the internet. The research supports what he is saying, but notes that many effects depend on body type. I can't sleep. At night, I wander the halls. I try meditating. It helps, but it does little to wash away the human fear I have of Erik's death. I have learned to find peace in so many situations with Erik, but I am human and I will always have doubts. There is a tendency to believe that spirituality means absolute trust in God, but of course, our human condition produces doubt and fear. I am not here to tell you that these fears are simply cast away when you begin a spiritual journey. I am not here to tell you that love cures the pain. My own weaknesses and self-imposed solitude are nothing to emulate. But I know there is a God-given purpose for my journey and my challenges. I know there are lessons in every experience if I am willing to look at them. I know that it is far easier to wander through life weak-minded and ignorant of the lessons and truths that present themselves. Most of us will leave this world with little more than we brought into it. I am determined not to allow myself to follow this path. There is a lesson in these experiences, and there is a beauty and wealth that comes from deep love and commitment. Without these things, our life is meaningless, and our journey begins and ends in the same place. There is a vast landscape to that world, and I want to see it and grow in the process. And so I recognize that the challenges I am experiencing with Erik are a blessing. I also realize that there are many comparable overwhelming challenges that we all face at different times, and I want to get the word out. Learn from the hardship, embrace it, and you will become more than you could have hoped to be. By the 3rd week of Erik's starvation, I begin pleading with him to eat. But what I can't know is that my letters are pointless. They will not be given to Erik. My letters are being withheld from him. Although I write every day, for 22 days straight, in July he has given no mail from me. Without visits from me, phone calls, or letters, he remains in silence, in the hole, starving himself and dying. It's a subtle form of torture to imagine what he is going through and to be unable to do anything about it. If I didn't receive mail from him for so long in such a place, I probably have wondered and maybe even doubted him. The hole can do terrible things to the psyche, but I underestimate his faith. Against all hardships, he believes in me. My mother visits Sacramento in mid-July. I drive her to the prison with the hope that she'll be allowed to visit Erik. A friendly guard at the counter clears her visit. I tell her to demand that Erik start eating. An hour and a half later, she emerges from the processing center. She tells me Erik looks gaunt and pale, with dark sunken eyes. He is sickly. There is no other way for her to explain it. She has made him promise to start eating again, but he does not promise he will begin immediately. He wants the prison to realize that there can still be consequences for prisoner abuse. If he dies, the prison can blame Erik, but they will still have to answer for why they would leave a man in a state of sensory deprivation for months at a time. There are rules against such treatment. The fact that they are disregarded owes solely to the lack of oversight of our prisons. Erik's death would change that, he knows, and of course he is hoping to bring about some change without having to die. He sends a message that he loves me with all his heart, misses me, and for me to be strong. It will be over soon, he says. Unfortunately, this struggle has only begun. July fades into August. Each day I bring his spirit to me and wrap him in healing light. The prison continues to unlawfully hold his letters to me, issuing them out in one bundle. Some never arrive. I know because Erik numbers each one. Without my knowledge, word has gotten out, and producers and television personalities call me, hoping to learn and publicize the circumstances of Erik's prison life. I just want to see Erik and live a quiet life. Some days I'm strong. I take Talia to every imaginable activity, but I also try to do most things with her. I take her to her favorite restaurants and to the movies, and we go rollerblading and walking together. My heart's weary, but I want her life to be filled with joy. Her laughter rarely fades, and it brightens our home. My older dog, CB, has been growing sicker. He is now terminally ill. CB was Chuck's favorite, although I try not to face it. I will have to end his suffering soon. The vet says CB's pain will grow progressively worse until he dies. I've tuned into him and know it's true, but it's going to be so sad to lose him. I realize that throughout my relationship with Erik, I have looked to him to handle my sadness and fears. Without him, I could crumble or I could grow. I have preached the message of growth for so many years, and it is time to consistently apply the lessons to my own life as well. Erik writes to Talia once a week. It's a small celebration when she actually receives his mail. He has been moved to another cell, one that has real light, and he draws a picture of the hills he can see out of his window. The turkeys he draws look like small dinosaurs. We nicknamed them dino turkeys. Better still, Erik has been eating meals here and there. The fight goes on, but he knows when he is close to the point of no return. On August 4th, I received the phone call I've been waiting months for. A sergeant I've never spoken with, but who's very cordial, calls to inform me that my visiting privileges have been restored. I ask him when Erik's going to be released from the hole. He says the ISU cleared Erik and has no more reason to keep him in the hole. But he can't give me a release date. Mike calls and informs me that Erik's scheduled to have a committee hearing on August 11th. He's been told Erik should be released then. Doc asked his friend, Sharky, one of the prisoner cooks, to make one of his special apple pies. They plan on having a release from the hole party for Erik. No hats, balloons, or banners, of course, just the pie. Prisoners have to make do. I visit Erik behind glass. It's been 2 months since I've been allowed to see him, and when I do, I'm overcome with relief. It's amazing how much a person can yearn to be with their loved one. Even when I'm in a different city from Erik, I feel the distance in me. Erik looks so thin. There's minimal food in the hole, and he hasn't been able to put any weight back on. In the end, I don't care how thin he is. He's my guy, and just seeing him again fills me with hope. But I can't help but comment, Erik, you're shrinking away. He smiles. Don't worry. The counselor says I'll be released from the hole when I go to my committee hearing. August 11th falls on a Wednesday. That night, I wait for Erik's call. I've lit candles and opened a bottle of champagne. Don't ask me why. It's not like Erik's being released from prison. Still, setting the right ambiance inspires me. Lovers in extreme relationships are accustomed to adapting to the restrictions of their lives. Our love isn't the flower that grows from the bed of rocks, but the flower is no less strong or less beautiful. Some would argue it's even more so. The hours pass without a call. I spend time talking with Talia, all the while growing lonelier for Erik. Soon, it's clear something's gone wrong. Then the phone rings. I snatch up the receiver, but it's not Erik. It's a friend of Mike's, who was able to get a phone call. He tells me that the prison officials are leaving Erik in the hole. He won't be released, as we were told. No, I whisper. Erik must be devastated. How can they do this? I'm not sure they can. He wasn't found guilty of any rule violations, and it's worse than that. How? They're recommending him for transfer. A chill sweeps through me. This has been a terrible fear. Lyle's at Mule Creek State Prison, 45 minutes away. The CDC's policies has been to keep Lyle and Erik separated. They've never told us why. Every other prison is hundreds of miles away. I'm in shock. Nobody was expecting this. I hang up the phone and check on Talia. She's playing her SpongeBob game. I lift her into my arms and tuck her into bed. I kiss her goodnight. Then I trudge back to the kitchen and pour myself a glass of champagne. I'm going to need that drink after all. The next day, I call the prison. Just getting someone on the phone is a feat. They won't comment about Erik's situation. Why he's being kept in the hole is suddenly a prison secret. I can't get any answers. By Saturday, Erik's recovered from the shock. How can they do this, Erik? They can do whatever they want. They try to break families every day. My business is here, Talia's school. This is our home. He rests his head against the glass. His gaze softens. He runs his hand down the length of the glass. What I'd give to wrap my arms around you. I'm so sorry you have to go through this. Sometimes I don't like what you have to deal with to be with me. My eyes water. I move closer to the glass. I will always be here for you, Erik. More than being here, I need you to be happy, or I can't get past it. Just hold on, I whisper. I smile at him, and I know, without him telling me, that that's what he's been doing for 33 years. They all but have to drag me away from the glass at the end of the visit. It is especially hard to say goodbye on this day. CB is now in continuous pain. He can hardly walk. He's one of my oldest friends. With tears in my eyes, I bring him to the vet and gently lay him on the table. His small eyes stare at me. I've gotten very good at reading animals nowadays, and I am doing more professional work at assisting guardians with lost and injured animals. CB's images fill my mind. He knows. I can hardly bear it in my heart. I'll miss you, CB, I whisper. It's going to be all right. You're going home, to a place where all your pain will be gone, CB. From the moment we're born, we are chased by death. The memory of our spiritual essence has been close to us. So, with a subtle gnawing terror, we watch our body decay, our youthful beauty diminish, if we're lucky enough not to die young of disease, accident, or warfare. Then at some point, we're forced to watch those we love sicken and die. I know that death is an illusion, but my heart doesn't care sometimes. Losing the people and even animals that we love can rob us of the joy we should experience in living. The months blowed through our lives like the winter storms that come early to Sacramento this year. Despite a flurry of phone calls, Erik is not released from the hole, and no answers are offered to us. Erik's program remains the same. He's given 3 showers and allowed out of his cell to exercise in a small concrete area for 10 hours a week. I do not miss a visit. Very gradually, I force myself to adjust to such little contact with Erik, but I never get used to it. Despite his restrictions, Erik finds a way to be present in my daily life. He writes every day, draws pictures for me, writes poems, and for my birthday in October, sends me a gist and a long handwritten card. No romantic gesture from Erik surprises me anymore. It's his specialty. As long as he puts true effort into us, I'll be happy with what he can give me. The retaliatory investigations have long ended. Erik has been cleared of all allegations, but still not released. We are never given a reason. It stuns me that prison officials can still commit these kinds of acts in a modern society. I suspect I'm simply horribly naive as to that true extent of the problem, or perhaps it's different at other prisons. I can't know, but I doubt it. What I do know is that this storm has raged through our lives with real consequences, tearing us away from each other for our birthdays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and now New Year's. 8 months have come and gone with Erik in the hole. He's remained strong mentally, if not emotionally, but his body is deteriorating. The hole affects prisoners differently, but every human being gradually crumbles within it. The conditions inevitably inflict psychological damage, tearing at the minds of anyone forced to endure the isolation for long enough. In Erik's case, his Crohn's disease has reaped severe effects on his body. He is now 40 pounds lighter, pale, and noticeably weaker. He says he's fine. He doesn't complain. He never wants to worry me. But there's genuine suffering in him. I'm very worried for him. At our last visit, he tries to make light of it and make me smile. But seeing his condition sometimes brings tears to my eyes. I never want to cry in front of him. Unlike before, he can't kiss away my tears. I know it's brutal on him to watch me cry. It is hard to think that this, and much worse, occurs in other prisons in California. If I can do nothing for Erik with my resources and the help of the well-known attorneys I have retained, then what resources is there for the poorest families? It's a rhetorical question, of course. We all know the answer. For years, I've witnessed families torn away from loved ones in prison. I've seen prisoners moved like cattle to remote areas with little or no regard for family hardships, where visits are nearly impossible and a phone call costs $50 for a few minutes. Why should we care? Most people won't, which is why it occurs in the first place. But we should remember that most of these men are getting out of prison. We are taking damaged people and further destroying them before we release them back to society. This is why the prisons are so full, and so we build more. I feel that building more prisons to address crime is like building more graveyards to address a fatal disease. You don't lock them up and throw away the key until they are released one day. Eventually, most inmates are going to come out again. I think it would be a smart policy if we try to change them while they're locked up, so that when they return to society, there will be fewer victims on the street. But as I write this, prison conditions grow steadily worse. So now we've come full circle. Only this time, it's Erik and I who dwell the pain we've seen in the eyes of others over the years. We must embrace this pain. Karma burning, Erik once said, in order to move beyond it, and so we do. What other choice do we have? Perhaps it's the healing our souls need. Even when my very human heart is exhausted by the challenges and spiritual lessons, I long for the peace I cannot see on the horizon. Of course, peace can never be dependent upon external circumstances. It is found within. In other words, our problems never really go away, at least not for long, and if we wait for them to end, we'll never be at peace. It's ironic that these powerful challenges have helped show me how few material needs I have. Our real story is not the storm that's sweeping through our lives, but how the wind and rain are changing us. In this trial by fire, we are becoming, not in spite of the storm, but because of it. When we face circumstances we cannot change, the only thing left to do is change ourselves. Events may shape our lives, but who we are is not defined by events. Our character is molded within the struggle, the fire, and in how we respond to it. This period has taught me that Erik and I face a struggle that millions like us, in and out of prison and in every culture, experience. You don't need a partner in prison to experience the hardships of separation from the one you love. There are so many kinds of extreme relationships, And while it's nice to think our love is unique, it's sometimes better to know we're not alone. Long ago, Erik said something to me that I've never forgotten. He said, I don't want to die believing that I've taken more from the world than I've given. When I look back at the end of my life, I want to know that I've made this world, if only in a small way, a better place for having been in it. I've started from a huge deficit with a lot to make up for, but I want to balance the equation and then some. He has a long way to go, and so do I. Most of us do, but it's the continuing struggle, the very desire to make the world a better place, that shapes and defines who we are far more than what we've done and where we are. The year 2005 is well underway now, and I have no illusions. This is going to be a tough year, but I'm also excited. Erik will be transferred soon and released from the hole after more than 9 months in the most psychologically draining environment. Fortunately, I'm not completely in the dark anymore. As the case manager of the Directors Review Board, which oversees prison transfers, has been kind enough to keep me informed of the process when I call him continuously. I'm like a telemarketer. I am sure the board will not be very sensitive to our situation, but at least their decision will be made soon. I know what history shows when inmates are transferred. The California Department of Corrections. They always do whatever they want to do. So my only worry is for Erik's safety. Our tiny family is strong. We will remain united. Somehow, against the odds, we'll endure and find a way. Erik is my life partner and my best friend. The journey won't be easy, but we will always be. Epilogue. Our story is far from complete. Human stories don't really end so much as they evolve. Our legacy is often written long after we have passed, and in our case, the real work still lies ahead. Erik has been transferred now. He is in a new prison with new guards and prisoners, with new upheavals, and yes, an endless stream of new promises, joys, and struggles. The circumstances continue to change, and our commitment remains the one constant in our relationship. Our life, I see now, is who we are beyond the circumstances. It's almost strange for me to see life so differently than I did only 9 years ago, when I thought the circumstances were my life. I will soon be moving south to be at Erik's side, uprooting again, leaving my business, my family, my activities, and my life behind in order to be with a man I can only visit in a crowded room on certain days at certain hours. Talia and I will make our journey this time to Central California, to the town of Coalinga, where Erik's new prison is located. My time with Erik is limited at the moment, but we go on. Our love continues. At this moment, I see myself in something of a dark forest, with what I hope is a ray of light ahead. Ironically, the experience I've most resisted in my life was change. I am a burrer. I get comfortable in my spot and I don't like to be disturbed, but it's been said that God disturbs the comfortable. Change must become my comfort zone. In essence, my journey has taught me the two aspects of my life that have intrinsic value: any interaction that is based in love, and the constant and eternal world of the Spirit, God's world. For those of you who followed Erik's trial and his life over the last 15 years, and for those of you who are interested in updates on what is happening in our lives, I will be periodically updating the website, erikmenendez.com, with events and news. I will say goodbye for now and wish you well. May your own journey be peaceful and bright, even in the midst of change. About the author. A nationally known spokesperson for prison reform, Tammy Menendez's spiritual journey led her out of a quiet rural life to become a voice of growing importance for a long-forgotten segment of society. The surprising all-American girl who gave her love to a man whose tragic life was put on display for tens of millions, Tammy has long defied stereotypes. As a gifted writer and teacher, she has now set out to break the silence and taboo surrounding prisons and prisoners, and to bring attention to the desperate need for the overhaul of our prison system. Through incredible hardships, Tammy and Erik have sustained each other, nurtured their relationship, and created an inspirational story with the central message: every life is precious, every life has purpose. Tammy resides in California with her daughter. And we are done with the book. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it, and goodbye for now.